It's July 2021 and I'm back in East Anglia, this time Ipswich in Suffolk, in search of an Anglo-Saxon king, a Roman Catholic queen, and a village that doesn't exist anymore? Ipswich is located on the estuary of the River Orwell, making it an important port town throughout history. There are traces of occupation going back to the lower Paleolithic era over 300,000 years ago. Today, a lot of that history can be found in the town's impressive Victorian era museum. One of the stars being the substantial remains of a mammoth in the Natural History Gallery. A short distance away is Christchurch Mansion, a Tudor mansion built around 1550 by Edmund Widdeypole, but purchased by the town in 1884 and turned into a museum and gallery, with many of the rooms furnished as they would have been in the mansion's heyday. Upstream from the harbour, the River Orwell changes its name to the Gipping, and follow that back 12 miles, you reach the market town of Stowmarket. Close to the centre of town is Abbots Hall, a small farm that's now been turned into an ethnographic museum, the Museum of East Anglian Life, that tells the story of life in the region prior to the mechanisation of farming that took place in the 1950s and 60s, through buildings that have been carefully moved and reconstructed on the site. "17 miles east of Stowmarket is the village of Framlingham. Framlingham is noted in the Domesday Book of 1086, but its main claim to fame these days is the impressive castle that dominates the village and surrounding countryside. There is a basic Norman castle on site by the middle of the 12th century, and over the years it grew into an unconventional castle, with no main keep, but instead the curtain wall and 13 towers forming a defensive ring round the centre of the castle. This proved to be as ineffective as it sounds, and the castle was taken by King John in 1216, and from there it moved from a building of defence to one of a luxurious home, regularly patronised by royalty. In 1553 the castle played a defining part in English history, as Mary Tudor collected her forces at the castle before heading back to London to seize power and start her bloody reign, as the country lurched from Protestantism back to Catholicism. But from those high days, the castle fell from power, and by the 18th century it had been turned into a poorhouse. Today, just the curtain walls and parts of the poorhouse remain inside, but it's still an impressive sight. 12 miles to the south is Woodbridge, located on the estuary of the River Debden. The tide mill here has been used for over 900 years, using the power of a tidal flow to grind corn, even whilst Framlingham Castle was being built. The mill closed in 1957 and fell in dereliction before being saved in the 1960s and restored. Whilst the mill may have been saved, the same can't be said for the mill pond that served it. That got converted into a marina, so instead a small mill pond has been built next to the mill. At high tide, the water fills the pond, and then at low tide the water can be sent cascading over the mill wheel to turn the grinding stones. In its heyday, the mill could run for several hours between tides, but today it only gets about 30 minutes of time before the pond is too low. Less than a mile east across the river and back several hundred more years, and we reach the burial mounds of Sutton Hoo, suspected final resting place of King Reilwald of East Anglia. The land had long been known to have Anglo-Saxon burial mounds, but it was assumed they'd all been looted by the Tudor period. That didn't stop the landowner at the time, Edith Pretty, approaching Ipswich Museum and asking them to investigate. The finds discovered are now considered to be some of the greatest treasure ever found in the UK. "12 miles northeast of Sutton Hoo and we reach Aldeburgh, once a major Tudor port with a large fishing fleet and a shipbuilding industry. In the 16th century, an impressive Moot hall or local assembly building was built, which still stands today, housing the museum. But a town, built on its fortunate position at the mouth of the river on the east coast of England, can only really suffer one of two fates: erosion or silting up. And as the tides brought debris down the coast from erosion further north, the harbour silted up, the river turned south, and now the River Alde doesn't reach the sea until 15 miles further south, creating the almost textbook perfect definition of longshore drift, with the land heading down to Orford Ness. If things were bad for Aldeburgh, they were significantly worse for the neighbouring fishing village of Slaughden, which was attacked by both the sea and the river, the final fragments of the village being lost to the sea in the late 1930s. Today you can walk down the coast from Aldeburgh to the Martello Tower, which was once at the mouth of a river. This is the first, or last if you're coming the opposite direction, of the 103 Martello towers built along the Suffolk, Essex, Kent and Sussex coast, from here to Seaford in East Sussex, to protect the country from a threat from France that they were never tested against. The last towers being completed in 1812, just 3 years before the Battle of Waterloo spelt the end for Napoleon. 12 miles north up the coast and you come to the town of Southwold. Sitting on the mouth of the River Blythe and with a pretty town centre, compact pier and sandy beach, this is often cited as the most authentic traditional seaside town. The short pier houses a small arcade of shops and attractions, along with views back to the town standing on the low cliffs overlooking the beach, with a tall lighthouse at its centre. Accessible normally via rowboat ferry across the River Blythe is the small village of Walberswick, which was, much like many of the other villages on this coast, once an important trading port, benefit from the constant shifting of rivers and coastal erosion to beat its neighbouring villages to the riches that come with safe anchorage. Ipswich is located on the Great Eastern Main Line, with regular trains making the journey from London Liverpool Street in about an hour. There's also regional connections to Cambridge, Norwich and across Suffolk.